Do you need a professional demo
Yes.
to begin with? So
Yes.
how do you help students and people get that professional? How does it look like, the
Well,
whole process?
with Abacus, what we do is, like I said, we meet with someone. If someone contacts us and says, I want to do a voiceover demo, first of all, we'll say to them, have you done any voiceovers yet? No, I haven't. Okay. I want to do video games. Okay. Well, first and foremost, you need a commercial demo if you want to get started. And if you haven't done any voiceovers yet, you need to do some coaching. Okay. Now, I think what sets us apart from other folks is that we usually work with people in the short term. In other words, some places will say to you, well, you need about 20 lessons and you're like a year away from doing your demo. Okay. We don't work that way. Right. Which is why in that 15-minute consultation, we decide who we work with and who we don't work with.
Right.
If we feel like someone is like a good candidate for VO, whether it's myself, whether it's Emma, whether it's Tom, we'll say, okay, we'll get them in a lesson plan. 5 lessons, where we cover different genres of voiceover, right? And then we get you to a demo, right? Demos recorded in our studio in Manhattan.
But there's one-on-one coaching at the same time.
There's one-on-one coaching beforehand, right? But it's all leading up to doing a demo. Right. Now, some people, might argue with me and say like, well, how can you get somebody ready with just 5 lessons and doing a demo? And I will repeat, right? We're not going to work with someone who we don't think has a predisposition for it. Right. We're not, in other words, I'm not going to give somebody acting lessons. All right. I'm not going to give somebody lessons in interpreting writers. Okay. If they just naturally do that, if they respond to my direction in the 15-minute consult, because we give them copy to read in the consult.
In the consult. Okay.
Yeah. So if they respond to my direction, if I feel like there's something about them as a person, right, that tells me, yeah, they can do this, right, we'll move on to one lesson, right? And in that hour-long lesson, I'll really be able to tell. Then at the end of the lesson, I'll say either like, you know what, go back and take some more acting lessons, or come back a little later after you've done maybe some acting lessons or some improv. Improv is really good for loosening you up. Improvisation is great for loosening you up to do voiceover reads. And then we'll continue. Or I'll just say, let's go to the next lesson. Let's go to the package. So we have a package of 5 lessons, a demo, right? And then after the demo, you meet with Tom and you have a business meeting on how to market your demo. And that's it, and then we continue to keep in touch, with our students, see how they're doing. If they want to like do a facelift on their demo, we'll do that. But like I said, the time that we spend with them is maybe a little over a month.
Oh, great. That's so fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And it's pretty cost friendly too. So there are people out there who are charging ridiculous amounts of money for voiceover demos and for coaching. And
would you be able to share how much you charge?
Usually, if we get somebody into a lesson package, my first lesson is usually $175. Okay. And then, but if it's someone that was recommended to me, I'll bring it down to $125 for the first lesson.
Right.
Then if we want to continue and we want to do more lessons, then it becomes a $500 package. So 5 lessons for $500. Right. So it drops to $100 a lesson. And then the demo is usually $2,300. Right.
Got it.
If it's a referral, we might drop the price of the demo a bit. It's negotiable. Right.
Right.
There are places out there that charge $5,000 for what I just told you. Okay.
Oh, yes. Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And again, we'll work with you. If you need to do a payment plan, we'll work with you. But the quality that you're getting, some people even go 100, that's a lot of money. Yeah, but You might want to check around and see what other people are charging, because I think for what we do, it's extremely reasonable. My business partner is a really great producer and an engineer. And the one thing you want for your demo is to sound like you are ready to do this, like right now,
Great.
and that you are put in the context of sounding like you're a professional voiceover artist, right? The one thing you don't want to do is record your own demo. That's a mistake.
Can you talk more about this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's not competitive. You know, if you don't have a home setup, and even if you do, trying to record your own demo without someone coaching you through it, writing the copy for you, which is what we do. All our copy is original.
Oh, okay. So you write it for people for that's I did not know that.
Oh, it's all curated and
Oh
and
wow,
and
that's great.
and geared towards you personally. And that holds true of all our demos: commercial, video game, animation, corporate. It's all original. And you know, recording your own demo, you're just leaving yourself open to not sounding competitive rather than having it done professionally.
So it's you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, you are. And once that demo gets out there and they hear it, that's it. It's out there,
Oh no. I hear
you
you.
know? And it's like, you know, if the sound is off. Look, the other thing too now is that, I mean, the worst case scenario is that you try to record your own demo in like a room that you're sitting in or I'm sitting in, you know, without any acoustic treatment, without anything. They're going to hear that and think, oh, whoa, they don't even have a home studio, right?
Right.
It's important to let producers know that. That's why when you're recording auditions, you know, you want your read to be great, of course, but you want it to sound right, really good too, because if they like you and they want to work with you, they want to make sure that you've got something at home, you know, that you can record in, because nowadays they want to save money on renting studio space, right?
Yes.
So if you've got a decent home studio and you've got a really good mic and you're acoustically treated and you've got the right software, all that stuff, they will appreciate that, you know? So now you're not only auditioning you, you're auditioning your studio as well,
That's true. That's true.
you know?
And you will explain and walk your students through all this as
Oh
well
yeah.
in their
Oh yeah.
program. Is
Yeah,
there a
absolutely.
particular niche that you think that makes the most money?
Commercials.
Commercials.
Yeah. And that's if you're doing union commercials. I mean, you can definitely make good money doing non-union, but the difference is that with union commercials, you get residuals, you get usage, you know. So if you have a national network spot, you know, that's running during like the NBA playoffs, let's say, you know, and it's a union spot, you're going to make, you know, residuals on that. If it's a non-union spot, it'll be a buyout, but it'll be a pretty decent one. So commercials bring in good money. The other thing that is good is corporate narration and e-learning, because that's something where you can cultivate returning clients, right? And constantly be working. Okay. As much fun as video games and anime are, it's not great money. It's decent. If you have a lead character in a major video game like World of Warcraft or something like that, or The Last of Us or something, yeah, that's good. And the thing I wanted to also get back to real quickly was when people come to us for a consult and they say they want to do video games, I'll say, well, you know, you can't start with that. You know, starting out with a video game demo, which we do, people are, you know, in the industry are going to like wonder if you have a commercial demo, right? And it's important. It's just kind of like a non-written rule in voiceover that if you have a decent commercial demo, that's the best way to introduce yourself to the industry, because it sounds like you know. If you're doing an animation demo or a video game demo, you're doing character voices, and that might be something you want to think about later on.
I see, but not immediately to start off with.
No. The last thing you want to do is mix genres on a demo. You don't want a demo that's got video game and commercial and corporate, right? They're all separate. You want to keep them separate.
Okay, so I have heard demos of people who are marketing themselves for voiceover and they start with some sort of commercial and then they jump into just one reel. So it's not done like that, right? So you
Not a
make
good idea. Not a
so
good
you have to
idea.
make separate reels for
Yeah.
different genres.
Yeah. The other is too confusing for a producer or for an agent.
It doesn't seem, or it doesn't look like too many demos to listen to the casting
No,
director.
no, no. Again, Tom, who works with me on his website, he's got like 4 or 5 demos. So you can click on them and listen to them whenever, however you want.
And
You
how
know,
long should they be usually?
a minute, maybe a little over.
Okay.
Yeah. A video game demo sometimes runs a little over a minute, but a demo shouldn't be like 2 minutes long. You know, you're not going to get anybody's attention. And there's also the 10-second rule. All right.
So I wanted to ask you that too.
Yeah.
Isn't there?
The 10-second rule is they're in 10 seconds and they keep listening, or they're in 10 seconds and they stop listening. Right. It's
They
like,
don't want.
okay, I got it. No. Right. Or I got it. I like this person. Right. And then they keep listening. Right. So you want to grab them with the first spot, of course. But if your demo is like 2 minutes long, I mean, there's just no need for that.
Right.
You know, I mean, casting people and agents are extremely savvy, and they know, they can hear it. They can tell,
Oh,
in a matter of seconds if you've got it or not.
absolutely. So imagine somebody has their own professional demo reel. Everything is ready to go, and they do
Mm-hmm.
the marketing and everything, and they just don't get either auditions or don't get booked.
Mm-hmm.
And they doing it over and over and over. How do you think they can be proactive while they are still doing the right thing?
Well, if they're not booking, and they've got a decent demo and they're doing the marketing, it could be that their auditioning is off. It could be they need some audition coaching, which we do. Quite a few of our students, we have a membership that's $30 a month at Abacus. And with that membership, you get 4 free coachings in a month for auditions.
For days, for hours?
It could be a half hour at the most, and you get 4 per month. And we have students who take full advantage of that.
Is it one-on-one or a group?
So it's one-on-one.
It's one-on-one
It's
with
either
yourself?
myself or Emma or Tom. And, you might need some coaching. You might need to go back and take some lessons. You might need to review some stuff. That's always a possibility,
Right.
that you have a great demo. You're doing all the marketing. You're sending auditions, but maybe something's off with the auditions. You're not, look, I mean, students of mine, they get with an agent, right? And they say, I haven't booked anything yet. Just keep going. Just keep going. You'll book something, right? If you feel like you need some help, you get a script, you get an audition, and it kind of throws you off. You're not sure what to do with it. Give me a call Emma, call Tom. We'll walk you through it. Sometimes you need that. So I would suggest that, if you.
That made me think of the importance of reinvention.
Mm-hmm.
And the power of reinvention throughout
Mm-hmm.
someone's creative life.
It's kind of what I had to do.
Could you tell us about that a little bit
Yeah.
more? What was your experience with reinvention? How do you look at it? How often do you think about it or do it?
Well, I mean, I had to kind of reinvent myself I've been in the voiceover business for a long time, but I had to put myself on the other side. Right.
On the
Never
casting director seat? What do you mean by other side?
from an instructor point of
Right.
view,
Right.
I never thought I would be, instructing people or coaching people on voiceover. I always just thought it was something I would do, but I had to kind of think differently about it and sort of remove myself from only being talent, right, to just being a coach or being an instructor and helping people who are just getting started, helping people who've been doing it for a while, but they're in a rut. My very first voiceover coach, she did that for me. She was a professional voiceover person and a coach. And there was a period like in the mid or late 90s when I got into a rut. I wasn't booking as much. And my agent told me to go to her. And she kind of like got me going again. She told me all the things I needed to hear. Right. And that's the kind of coach I'd like to think of myself as,
Right.
I still do voiceovers, but I kind of had to step back a little bit from just being talent and look at it from the point of view of trying to help somebody, other than myself, right? You got to be willing to do that. You got to be willing to share your secrets, you know?
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm telling people I was very successful as a voiceover artist. And I'm sharing now all the things that I did that enabled me to book as much as I did with other people, right? If I was just talent, I'd never do that, right?
That's true. That's true. What is the one thing besides all the other things? What thing that is very important to you that you would like your student to take with them once they leave your studio or your program to carry for life?
Is to be able to interpret any kind of voiceover script and make it sound comfortable and relatable. If that's the first thing that pops into their head when they're working on, is like, how can I sound like I'm comfortable doing this? Whether it's like a commercial, where you're just talking to someone and you're saying just a few things, or it's a character in a video game, where you have to really perform, right?
Yes,
You
let's
have to,
get back to that too.
you have to be comfortable. Some people are not comfortable letting go, and becoming that character, so it's all about, making it yours, embodying the script in a way so that, again, you're putting your own personal stamp on it and you're not holding back at all.
Mhm.
And you're doing exactly what's right for the genre. So if they listen to you and think, whoa, listen to that person, I can feel them coming through. I feel that person, I feel that character, I feel that read coming through. If you can do that, then, you're on your way, I think.
What is in animation work, I remember in our class, you encouraged us to just act it out, like
Mm-hmm.
literally say things
Mm-hmm.
and use our body. What is the importance of using our instrument in any other genres? Does it matter which genre you are reading for?
Not really. I think that,
How
in order,
far can you go though? How far should you go?
well, it depends on the genre. If you're doing a video game character who is in a battle, right, and has a battle cry and is fighting for their life or is being killed, which very often you'll get, you really got to go there.
Do you have to indicate?
Not indicate. No. Indication means you're indicating it rather than doing it. Okay.
Could we elaborate this a little bit more?
Well, indicating, indicating kind of for me, has a negative, has kind of a negative meaning, because indicating means that you're not really doing it. You're indicating that you're doing it as
Right.
opposed to really doing it. Right. So if you're doing a battle cry, you just go, ah, that's indication. Right.
I hear you.
If you roar, right, and you do that and you put everything into that battle cry, you're doing it, right? You're not touching on it.
Absolute. Yes, that makes absolute sense.
Stella Adler used to say that. Don't indicate, darling. She used to say that. Don't indicate. Do it, right? So it's got a negative connotation for me.
Mhm.
When I think of indicating, I always think of what she used to say. For her, it meant that you weren't really doing it. You were pretending that you were doing it,
Yes.
right? You were trying to deceive people into thinking you were doing it, right? Rather than
Mhm.
really doing it.
Yes. No,
That make
you explained it perfectly.
Yeah.
You explained it perfectly. You taught a lot of students, me included, obviously, and you made such a huge impact on our creative lives. What
Thank you.
did It's my pleasure. Thank you. What did we teach you about
Mm.
fear, rejection, resilience, strength, and all the good stuff?
I think, whenever I work with students, I always try, because I mainly do one-on-one coaching. That's mainly what I do. When I have a classroom of 12 or 15 students like I do at Stella Adler, I really try as much as I can in that 3 hours to focus individually on each student and really figure out where they're coming from, right? You know, it's hard for me to see the class as a collective, as one, right? I'm like, I've got 15 individual students here, and each one of them is going to need something different. Each one of them is going to respond differently, right? So, I never judge, or I never think of it in terms of like, well, now I have a whole classroom, so I'm just going to give them everybody the same thing, you know?
Right.
As far as like, people who are fearful, people who get up to the mic and they're afraid to like go further, like we just talked about, I'll see that and I'll encourage them to do it because, again, in this classroom, we're all individuals and everybody here is rooting for everyone else, Voiceover is a solitary endeavor. So when you're in a classroom and you're up at that microphone, I understand that people feel pressured and people feel nervous, because you're doing it in front of other people and you feel like people might be judging you or whatever. But I try to make it clear to my students right away that no one's doing that here, right? And if they are, let them do it, but they're not going to verbalize that, right? And if somebody does try to verbalize a judgment on another student, they'll get shut down by me.
Right. Right.
So I try to create an atmosphere, I guess, based on who's in the class of trust. That's always, what I try to do is to get everybody trusting everyone, trusting me. That's why I always start off the class talking about myself, because I say to the class, you're probably all wondering, well, who is this guy that's about to teach me this 4-week class? Okay, well, I'm going to tell you.
What would be a lesson that failure has taught you more than success? And by failure, there is no such thing as failure, but you know what I mean. Rejection, not getting the result that you are looking for immediately. That's what I meant. Even for your own experience or watching your students going through that, is there a particular lesson that particular event taught you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, no matter what happens, whether you book the job or whether you don't, if you love what you're doing, right, and you believe in yourself, you just keep going, I mean, rejection is
Redirection.
rejection is as big a part of this business as success, and rejection, if you really believe that being rejected has nothing to do with whether or not you're good at it, right, then you'll be okay, right? If the rejection makes you doubt yourself, you might want to look at that. You might, again, if you are getting rejected a lot, or if nothing's coming back as much as you're putting in, you might want to look at that and go like, not in a beat yourself up kind of way, but more like, what can I do? Something's not happening here. There's something I need to do. So don't respond emotionally to it. Don't take it out on yourself and think, okay, well, maybe I need more lessons. Maybe I need to brush up, maybe I need some coaching for these auditions. Maybe there's something I'm not doing that I need to do more of. That's a better way, I think, of dealing with rejection, than beating yourself up or thinking that it's your fault.
It's a different mentality.
Oh, yeah. And I think everyone has to adapt it at some point if you want to survive in this business.
You want to survive the hardest business in the world.
Well, yeah, it's terrible. Oh, it's a terrible business. Oh, it's a terrible business. Yeah. You have to have incredible drive.
And ambition. Like
skin.
you have tough skin.
You have to be ambitious, and you have to be a little lucky too. That there's no like roadmap for that one,
Yeah.
Ambition, drive, yes, that you can develop. But, when it comes to like, unfortunately, you can have a lot of ambition and a lot of drive and not see anything for it for a while in this business.
Yes.
There's no ladder to climb, it's not I do this, and I get this,
It's not like a law degree. You go to school and then you become a lawyer or a doctor after a certain amount of
Right.
years.
Or it's not, or it's not like finance where you like, you get a bunch of like accounts and that puts you further and further up the ladder, you know? Um, this is a business where people who are not talented sometimes get all the luck, right? I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of people out there who are in movies and acting and they're not very good or very interesting, but somehow they got there, whether it was their ambition and drive and their luck, you know?
Right.
With voiceover, I think it's like a little bit more of a niche thing because, again, because it's no longer about what you sound like, right? The ability to interpret copy, the ability to personalize and interpret is a skill, right? So a lot of people don't think it's a skill. A lot of people think, oh, I just have a great voice. All I have to do
Yeah.
is speak. No. Great voice, no, not a great voice, regular voice, odd voice. If you have the ability to interpret and personalize, that's going to make the difference.
And there's no age limit to it either.
No, not
You can
really.
start any.
Well, I mean, is there ageism in voiceovers? To some degree, it depends on what you sound like,
Mhm.
Like, I'm 70 years old, but I tend to sound sometimes younger. I tend to get stuff where more for 50s. I
Right.
don't
Yeah.
have I don't have like a aging voice. Sometimes when it's older people, it gets geared more towards pharma, things like that. And also, yeah, the voiceover industry, a lot of the voices you hear now, especially on commercials, are younger, right? Because the demographics for advertising is younger, you know? So I'm always more comfortable working with younger people on
Mhm.
this. When I get someone or, a guy or a gal who's my age and they want to get into this for the first time, I'm like, it's going to be limited for you. Okay. It's going to be limited. I'll tell you right now. All
As far
right.
as the jobs that they might get?
Yes. As far as the choices. Yeah. It's going to be limited. Um, whereas with younger folks, it's a little bit more of an open book.
Mhm.
Um, only because of where advertising is. Right.
Yes.
Um, so, no, it doesn't matter what age you are, you can do it, but there's gonna be, a little bit of you know, a little bit of a limitation for older people on what they can do,
I see.
right? They're
Right.
not gonna necessarily put an older voice on like a Bud Ultralight commercial. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
So if you're okay with doing like medical, pharma, maybe some corporate, yeah, sure. Absolutely. I would encourage you to do it. If you want to think of it, if you're retired, right? And you want to think of it as a side hustle, as a fun thing to do, absolutely. Right. What I would be concerned about is an elderly person or an older person looking to make this their full time gig. That would concern me. You know,
Understood. Yes.
that would concern
That
me.
makes sense.
But if it was a young person, I would be like, well, get prepared to do the work. Right. And you could make this happen, you know. And I don't want that to sound prejudice or anything
I
again,
understand that.
in terms of age. I'm just being realistic, you know.
Ab Absolutely.